Hello everyone, this is Mastery Communications presented by Yosef. Welcome to this training session which emphasizes on conditional sentence. Here I have brought you 4 different sentences with their respective meanings. Have a look at them and realize the differences. They are all the same, in fact. The wordings are the same, but the tense pattern are different there. Look at the verbs in all cases and observe the differences among those 4 sentences. Let me take you to the first case. If you invite me, I will come. We have if clause there and we have main clause next. In the if clause there is a verb 1 form, that is invite, whereas in the main clause we have simple future form, will plus verb 1 form. In the second sentence, still we have the same clauses, that's if and main clause. In the if clause, we have invited, which we named invite in the first case, and we have would plus verb 1. In the first case, we make it will plus verb 1. Look at the differences. Here is a verb 2 form, whereas here is would plus verb 1. In the third sentence, we have had plus verb 3, that's past perfect in the if clause. Here also we have would plus have plus verb 3 in the main clause. So still we have differences among these 3. If we look at the verb pattern there. In the fourth case, we have, this is a bit different from those 3 we have mentioned above. We have simple present in the if clause and we have simple present in the main clause. So these kinds of structures often appear in conditional sentence. Like the differences they have in terms of tense, we have also differences in terms of meanings. Look at those meanings I have listed down here. Look, in the first case, there is a possibility for the condition to happen and there is a probability for the result to occur, because this is in the simple present form. When we talk about the condition, whether that is applicable or not, we should look at the if clause particularly. So this is in the simple present form, VI4, so there is a probability for the condition to happen. If one works hard, there is a probability for him to pass the exam. So if you work hard, you will pass the exam. Kind of sentences are categorized under number 1. Look at the second one. If you invited me, I would come. Here is a verb 2 form, the past form, whereas this one is a present condition, would plus verb 1. So this kind of sentence is hypothetical but unlikely for the condition to happen, because here we have a past action, unlike the first one. In the first case, there is a probability for the condition to happen because we have verb 1 form, which indicates a present action. Look at the third one. If you had invited me, past perfect, and we have perfect conditional. This is unreal or impossible condition because we refer to an action that is here are already dead. Invited is dead, here is also dead. So there is no probability for those actions to happen either currently or in the future. If we look at the fourth one, we put simple present in both cases in conditional sentence if that sentence is general truth or universally accepted truth. So depending on the kind of tense pattern we have, the meanings also vary. So whenever we want to apply conditional sentence in our day-to-day communications, we need to think about the meanings properly. And also we need to think about the differences each conditional sentence in terms of form. Okay, saying this, let's directly skip to the different sentence as instances and the respective tense part. Okay, I have brought you different additional instances under those 4 categories, 4 conditional sentence types, which we looked earlier. Here we have, before we just match those examples with the tense patterns, we better underline the verb and realize the kind of pattern it consists. Here we have get in the first case, will call, and we have in the second case, that means in the main clause. Here we have got in the if clause and would call in the main clause. Here we have had got in the if clause, would plus have plus verb 3 in the main clause. Here is mix, that means verb 1 in the if clause and verb 1 still in the main clause. Now, taking the tense patterns of all those sentences, I would like you to match with their tense patterns. Each sentence has 2 clauses. The first one is if clause and the second one is main clause. In the if clause we have simple present. Let's look for a sentence that consists of simple present. That means the verb 1 form here, and also simple present, the verb 1 form here. So this one, the fourth sentence, consists simple present both in the if clause and main clause. So this matches with the first tense pattern. Now let's see. Here we have simple past in the if clause, that means the verb to form, the present condition in the main clause, would, should, could, might, plus verb 1. So among these 4 sentences, which matches with this tense pattern? Simple past, it's only this sentence that comprises of simple past in the if clause. And here would, should, could plus verb 1, here would plus verb 1. So this sentence matches with this tense pattern. Now let's see, past perfect, perfect conditional, had plus verb 3, perfect conditional, would, should, could, might, plus have plus verb 3. There is no sentence rather than the third one that consists of exactly the same pattern with this one. So this is typical of the third conditional sentence type. So here are the tense patterns which I would like you to consider whenever think of conditional sentence types. Do not forget 2 things I would like you to consider. The first one is position of if and main clause. It's not only the if clause that always comes at the beginning. You can also place the main clause at the beginning. Wherever the place is, the tense patterns will never change. You can have I will call him if I get his address kind of sentence. You can have I would call him if I got his address. The difference when we change the positions of main and if clause is, if we bring if clause at the beginning, we have comma to separate it with the main clause. But if we place the main clause at the beginning, no need to have comma between the sentence, the clauses. The second is the use of unless. Unless means if not, if dot 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 not. If not, if unless you work hard, you will never succeed. Look, unless you work hard means if you don't work hard, you will never succeed. So if you use unless in conditional sentence, it stands for if not. So you can use unless instead of if. Sometimes you may use on condition that in place of if. On condition that I get his address, I will call him. There are various ways of in fact using if. As I said, we can use unless, sometimes on condition that. Okay, let me give you two sentences based on the discussion we have made and change into three conditional sentence types. Since this refer to general truths, as I said, we will not have a look at with those examples that I'm going to give you now. This kind, by the way, this kind is said to be zero condition. Zero condition. But the remaining are conditional sentence type 1, conditional sentence type 2, and conditional sentence type 3. Now let's see the two examples and the way we change it into conditional sentence type 1 and type 1, type 2, and types. Okay, let's do the first one together and leave the second for you. Here we have, if he asks me, I tell him the truth. This is conditional sentence, but the verbs in the parentheses are not in their right tense form. Now let's change it to conditional sentence type 1, type 2, and type 3. In order to change, we should think the tense pattern of each conditional sentence posed in the if and main clauses. In conditional sentence type 1, in the if clause we have simple present based on our discussion. So ask, if he asks, this is singular in fact, if he asks me, then the main clause should be in the simple future tense. I will tell him the truth. Will tell. Now here is simple present in the if clause and also simple future in the main clause. What about the second conditional sentence type? What is the tense pattern in the if clause and the main clause as well? We have simple past in the if clause, so asked is the proper tense form plus present conditional would, should, could plus verb 1. So I would tell him the truth. Would plus tell. This is the right tense pattern for conditional sentence type 2. What about conditional sentence type 3? We have present perfect in the if clause and perfect conditional in the main clause. That is had plus verb 3 in the if clause, would plus have plus verb 3 in the main clause. So here, if he had asked me, and we have I would have told him the truth. Had plus verb 3, would plus have plus verb 3. This is the third conditional sentence type. Based on these instances, please do question number 2 on your own. This much is enough for today. As much as possible, try to consider the functions or meanings of conditional sentence types and also the respective tense pattern so that you improve your language